strange case of theft by deception out of Bellevue, involving a huge collection of equipment that would be used by first responders. In an exclusive 6 on Your Side investigation, Mike McKnight finds that legitimate emergency personnel haven't received any of it, while suppliers are owed thousands of dollars.
First responders rely on life-saving gear for victims and themselves. So when out-of-state vendors who sent emergency equipment to U.S. Search and Rescue alleged fraud, Bellevue police responded with a search warrant.
We believe that it is not a company. They do no search and rescue. It's just they keep getting all this gear in through deception, through paperwork, and never pay.
8 suppliers have shipped an estimated $60,000 worth of emergency equipment to U.S. Search and Rescue. Investigators recover most of it in a Bellevue townhome basement. A resident there, John Hochstetler, has been charged with felony theft by deception. The arrest affidavit states he purported himself to be the chief of U.S. Search and Rescue that will help FEMA in disasters.
I checked, ran through the state, ran through FEMA. He has no certifications for any rescue, search and rescue operations. He has no firefighting certifications. He has no medical certifications like EMT, paramedic, anything like that. It's just all fake.
But the equipment is real expensive, like a $20,000 patient monitor or portable lights and sirens for a first responder.
Yeah, you put this either in the windshield or whatever on the top of it, or I mean, you can mount it however you want.
The suspect allegedly used Photoshop fire and rescue images on a website to convince vendors to send gear and get paid later, but then cut off communication. Some items shipped 6 months ago or more. Then there's this boat parked behind the suspect's townhome complex, and it says on the side, U.S. Search and Rescue Region 7, which investigators believe is just part of the ruse. Investigators say the boat with a FEMA region number is for show and doesn't belong to any vendor, but many other first responder items, like coats and pants, came from suppliers who haven't been paid and will get them back after legal proceedings against Hochstetler.
You just scratch your head. We've recovered quite a bit of equipment, so it's not like he's turning it around, and it's not stuff that you could take to a pawn shop or that the general public would want to purchase in the first place. It's very specialized, expensive gear.
Like a stack of Velcro name tags with the Hochstetler name on top, and a helmet for the chief of U.S. Search and Rescue, an alleged fraudulent organization that's been searched by police and rescue equipment recovered.
Brand new, huh?
Yep. On Your Side in Bellevue, Mike McKnight, 6 News.
Bond for 51-year-old John Hochstetler is set at 10% of $50,000. However, the investigation is continuing and includes a possible sales tax exemption violation. In the arrest affidavit, the suspect claimed that he's attempting to get government grants to pay for items received, but police say they have no documentation of an application.